Hi, this is Joe Russo.
Hi, Jim Rash.
This is Andrew Guest.
And this is Garrett Donovan.
And we are.
This is the first of our Paintball two-parter extravaganza that closed out season 2.
Yeah.
This, something started about mid-season. We started experimenting with different technology on the show because the show is so ambitious and so hard to shoot that we were trying to look for ways to move quicker on set. So we started using these little Sony EX cams that cost around $3 or $4 grand, which is incredibly cheap for a camera that executes a television show that gets broadcasted nationally. And I think it was around
the hospital episode, right?
The hospital episode that we employed them exclusively for the entire episode. Worked so well that we knew heading into paintball. As an example, when we did the first paintball, I think we shot it in 8.5 or 9 days when we did the first paintball episode.
You're supposed to shoot in 5.
Yeah, we're supposed to shoot in 5. So we took about 9 days to shoot paintball 1. We only had 11 days to execute this two-parter. And there were different styles, different genres.
And we were already over budget. So there was a lot of concern about how do we make this more cost-effective.
How do we make this happen? So we thought, let's get the Sony EXs out and let's go really quickly. And I'll employ a handheld style that allow us to move really quickly, low light levels. And so, we ended up shooting both of these in 11 days, which was insane. Yeah. We were running multiple units the entire time, 2, sometimes 3 units going at the same time, running back and forth. Adam Davidson came in and helped us out.
That's right.
Anth came in and helped us out. And
that opening sequence we saw, one of the concerns was, is this too dark? I mean, it's a scary opening to a comedy.
Right, I remember that was a note that they had. From a writing perspective, it was like, should we even do another paintball episode? I remember, it was, will we be able to outdo ourselves? And so we went the Sergio Leone route, and I guess the proof is in the pudding. You guys can decide, but I thought it turned out great.
You taste the pudding.
Yeah.
Tell us.
And you tell us, is it chocolate or is it vanilla?
There's some pudding right there.
Yeah, there's some pudding. I'm just going to say that I probably this season wore a tie twice because this was coming off of Human Memory, which we had done a ton of costumes. Gaga.
It's great else. That you have a very good midriff and very nice
you're
legs.
Welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. Well, I keep in shape. Me and Joel, we just know that we're going to be called upon to show skin, so we have to be ready.
It's a cheap ratings ploy that we use.
I felt bad. Jordan Black is actually inside there. He plays the other Dean, and in some world, some other actor could say, "Oh, I don't have to be in there."
Yeah,
but he's in there.
He's in there.
He's doing a good job.
He wants to make
sure
that
he could not see at all.
Comedy translates to his actions.
I just basically, you can't see it, but I turned him to the mic.
Yeah.
Right before that scene because he could not find it. Now, I think the fact that people think that another set was probably made, but this is the set just shot up. I mean, they're destroyed.
That's a good point. There's another fun thing about doing this at the end of the year. The first season we did paintball wasn't the last episode that we shot. This year we know we were going to, at a certain point, we knew committed to the last 2 episodes being paintball, and we said we can destroy these sets because we won't need to redress them for some normal scene afterwards. So people in the art department really went to town all over.
Yeah.
The sets.
We had a paintball gun, and everybody took turns shooting up walls on the set with a paintball gun. Even my kids come in and
it's a combination of
shoot up
paint
sets.
and stickers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those are cool.
Yeah, you can tell if you look
stickers.
closely. You can definitely tell that they're stickers.
But I remember they'd have marksmen on set who were shooting up all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Those were all visual effects right there, hitting that. We did a lot of visual effects in this episode as opposed to the first paintball because we had to move so quickly. We didn't have time to reset things on set. Every time you do a shot where somebody gets hit with paint, they have to change an outfit, or you have to wash the paint off their face. And now you're talking about 20 minutes in between takes versus run back in and do it again, and we'll paint it in post. So like when Abed comes in here to save Jeff, everything is done in post. That's in post. Those shots are all in post. Yeah, obviously that's post.
And in the first season, there was more practical shooting,
yes,
right?
There's a lot more practical shooting.
Yeah.
That's post. So the smoke coming out of his gun and the paint hitting that guy's back were all done in post. So really it's just the actors just, play acting with guns and shooting air, and then we augment it through visual effects, and allows us to move much faster on set.
And they did have I remember a few shots where they had someone actually shooting, and you'd put cardboard underneath our wardrobe to cushion the blow. It's
fairly
they
painful.
don't feel great. These aren't as strong as normal paintballs. I mean, I remember they are extra fragile and thin.
They
so
have like a
break
wax,
easier.
right? Aren't they made of wax?
Yeah.
Didn't Allison get a big welt the first paintball?
She
'Cause
did, right on her
yeah.
boob.
Yeah.
She had a big
I
welt.
don't know why that stuck with me, but
Well, clearly why. We know why. He just explained it on a boob.
It was the other reason we scaled back on it too, because it was painful. Now, this was probably one of my favorite sequences to ever shoot on the show is the introduction of Josh Holloway, because it's not often that you have an actor show.
That's
up
not
with
Josh
that.
Holloway who does one. That's
He doesn't look good on
I'm
film.
prepping. I'm talking quickly, knowing that it's coming, because not often you have an actor with that sort of mythos or the screen presence that you get to introduce as a really badass character on your show.
and who can deliver that? I mean, it was fun, to write something for somebody who was just going to fucking.
Did his name just come up, or what?
Yeah, it definitely. We were like, well, who can we get that's going to have that sort of quality that we need to play this really intimidating?
But it was the kind of thing where it was like someone like Josh Holloway, and we were lucky enough to actually get him.
Right.
So.
And he was a real sport. He
was awesome to work with. Yeah.
We were sort of frantic this was the end of our season, and it had been a long season, and we were at the stage where we were gang writing scripts. Normally a writer would try to, luckily, if they're lucky, get a week to go out and write the first draft on their own. And these we were banging out as a room together, and we were down to the wire here, and we were shooting some long days to try to save money, because we didn't want to have a 9-day shoot. So I think our first day on set was an 18-hour day.
Yeah, easily an 18-hour day, and which puts you in the hole, and you're starting at noon the next day and finishing at 4 in the morning, and then by the end of the week you're finishing at 8 a.m.
Now, was this sort of an homage to last year's paintball with Allison coming out of the trash can, right?
And actually bringing up Allison, I have to go back and defend myself for a minute, because Dan claims that I shot an incredible amount of footage of Allison running down that hallway. Exclusively for her boobs, which is not the case. I wish it was the case, because I would have enjoyed shooting the scene more. We made that scene up on set because I think the script just said, he chases them out of the library, they just escape.
Right.
So, we're on an episode where we have no time as it is, and we decided to add another location and just, amp up the action sequence a little bit and have them narrowly escape him by running down this hallway. But when we got into the hallway to shoot it, the hallway wasn't as long as I expected it to feel. And when we shot it in real time, Allison was through the doors within like a second and a half, so there wasn't a great deal of tension. So we slowed the cameras down, but we did it on varying speeds because we didn't want it to be too slow or too fast. And I had no idea how it was going to play. And since we were just making it up, I think I shot 9 different angles on it at 4 different speeds. And that's why there's a mountain of footage in there. It also happened to, highlight
it's not
boobs,
Joe's
but it was
fault that the camera shot Allison Bree's
It's
boobs.
not.
He's not a pervert.
God,
That's what he's trying to
basically
say.
what I'm
God
saying
made him do it.
I have a fetish, but that was not done exclusively for that fetish.
Right. I mean, we have to just a nod to the creativity of the idea that this is happening at a school, and that these people have dressed the part. Mm-hmm. It's not in someone's imagination.
Yeah. No.
It is happening.
Yeah.
And what does Abed say? It's 4 hours, 5 hours?
Oh, yeah, you asked him how long it's been.
Yeah.
For 4 hours.
Well, a lot of times when we do episodes like this, is the premise driving the story? Are they acting in character still? This, I think, was a nice balance, because they're kind of talking like cowboys, but, you could still, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Am I alone in this, or
No,
is
you
it
can still believe that
complete?
Garrett
No,
and
I was
Vicky
just
are
laughing at them
dancing
dancing.
on the
It
table.
was not. Yes,
Oh, okay.
I agree. I think it's.
Because you want to have the fun with the idea, but you want it to seem also like a community college.
The other reason, we talked about this maybe about 4 or 5 episodes before the end of the season. We talked about how we were going to end the season, what kind of a finale we were going to do. And the first season, we were lucky enough to run around the debate episode, which Andrew and I worked on together. We discovered this sort of chemistry between Jeff and Annie that it was interesting to see, this sort of opposites, these opposite characters attracted to one another. And then we were able to track that through the second half of the season and turn that into a cliffhanger at the end of the year. We didn't quite have that same, just because of the nature of what season 2 was in terms of its exploration and experimentation. We didn't quite have that same through line. And so we were thinking, well, how do we sort of outdo the, the level of ambition that we've displayed in season 2 up to this point. And we said, well, if we go back, let's do paintball, and let's not just do 1, let's do 2.
That's right.
And let's do 2 different styles, and let's, we tried to bite off as much as we could possibly chew to create a finale for the season. And while this was being conceived, people started writing about Pierce, and Dungeons and Dragons came out, documentary came out, and so we were able to intertwine this concept of sort of bringing to some sort of head Pierce's antagonism towards the group.
Right. People on Twitter were talking about the Pierce problem and, why are they hanging out with him? So this was our shot at trying to explain it. And we, I don't know, we kind of kicked the can down the road, and we'll answer more questions at the start of season 3.
But it does, it was one of those things, we talk about this in terms of the season 1 paintball, where what's the Britta and Jeff sleeping together aspect of it? Because we can have fun, they can shoot, tell jokes, but if there's not some emotional, interesting story happening, how, it's going to feel empty. Right. And this season, whether we wanted it to or not, it became Pierce because of people's reactions to D&D and the documentary episode. It felt like, oh, okay, here's actual... an actual juicy aspect of these characters' lives that we can delve into and hopefully explore and, get a story out of.
And it gave us a nice, I think, a nice backdrop for, spaghetti westerns are existential. Mm-hmm. And, it's really about...
Those were practical bullets.
Yeah.
Those wax ones you just saw.
Those were, all of those girls got shot in the stomach, sadly, at like 4 a.m.
Okay. That's okay.
Some of that one was augmented.
Mm.
The paint?
The paint, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's also, too, because you get one shot. You don't want to have to hit people twice, so if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you got to fix it.
I remember, and this was, I was in one scene where they had I call them marksmen on the sides who were going to shoot the shot at the actor. And
right.
I remember it was pandemonium. I think this is actually in part 2, but we're screaming. Everyone's screaming. I know I'm screaming.
You can't talk about part 2 in this.
Oh, okay. Okay, stop.
No.
Save it. I won't be there. But but I heard that the guy being shot and the guy was missing, and you just hear this ow, 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 and we're all going, oh my God, we're screaming, and I feel so bad. He's getting hit, and the marksman was like, you got to keep your arm up. You got to keep your arm up. Like he wasn't going to take the blame.
I think we'd take a second here to talk about
more chemistry and more. God made Joe Russo shoot Allison Brie's chest again for some reason. He had to angle the camera.
I did. I could. It was the only angle I could get on her was from up above.
But these 2 actors had amazing chemistry that Joe and I realized on set as well, and we wrote them a few more lines together because of. That, for example, that little interchange there, things that weren't in the script, but we thought, there's something happening here.
Right, and how can we create more of a story out of it based on the fact that they've got really good chemistry? And, this sequence was shot within like 45 minutes because, one of the constraints we have on the show is that Joel has 2 jobs. We have to get him to the soup every Thursday. And literally shot his side of that in about 10 minutes, got him out the door. And then finish the rest of the scene. And just, again, one of those sequences was just sort of made up on set, that action sequence.
Mm-hmm. One of the Twitter questions I got today was about the guns, where we got these. I don't know who in the art department found them, but it was a big concern. At a certain point, we were talking about this. First of all, this is Jim Rash's. Basically this, once Jim Rash did his performance in Conspiracy Theories episode, we had to write another, we had to get that same energy and intensity from Jim again. It's,
I
hysterics.
Think it went on to Anthropology, the baby birth scene. It was like, now I just get panicked.
Right, that's it.
But I like that he has such a short fuse. The smallest thing will set
There's
him
a lot
off.
going on.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is a great moment.
This, I was like, we did it even longer.
Yes, you did.
Where I just would refuse and kept.
And I like how you just assume they're going to take it out.
Oh, of course. And I think I had one where I asked Donald, asked Troy to fetch it if he wanted to. And I think his response was just simple, no.
Yeah, but going back to the guns, Dan was adamant that these
Yeah, he
should be
didn't
real
want to
guns
fake.
that you could really buy.
Exactly. He felt like it somehow broke the reality. If we just said there were Western paintball guns and they didn't actually exist, it would somehow be, it would be crossing the line. So we had to find these 6-shooters, and it's a little bit of a different technology. It's an airsoft pellet. The pellet is smaller, and it actually fits in a chamber with a little bullet, and the bullet doesn't move, but the little bead at the top does. And we were trying to use the ammo to motivate Western standoffs because unlike season 1, where it was just about chaos, everything going haywire, the Dean had, to some degree, anticipated this and tried to minimize the damage as he could by using Western guns, and it would hopefully create a different style in terms of storytelling as well.
And it's effective. That again, that's all visual effects. None of that was shot on set.
But you also created, I mean, you were talking about the coming across the Pierce sort of storyline that carried through, but there also was a relationship sort of established with Annie and Pierce.
That's right.
That I think
in the
is,
documentary in particular, yes.
Right. Him
and
visiting
then,
her at his apartment,
right.
Above the dildo store. But, but it's like that's another thing that sort of gets satisfied here, or, her anger at him.
Well, yeah, we charted it out for each character. What are they going to go through emotionally? We even had Shirley and Britta get into it about what's Shirley's future going to be at Greendale in part 2, but we sadly had to cut that for time. But this was kind of the one where it's Pierce and Annie are shining. But Jeff has he's worried about the Black Rider being handsome, and
I know it's a real another nod into the idea that, like we were just saying, about using these sort of styles, but not letting it govern or take over the character stories that you guys did so well to sort of see some growth within these styles.
Lesson we learned early on is that
Mm-hmm.
you cannot let the concept overtake the character, otherwise the episode's not very satisfying. Alison Brie's incredible in this episode. I wanted to mention that earlier.
And she had that
awesome
emotional scene.
episode.
That was one of the last things we shot. It was again after an all-nighter around 8 a.m, and she just brings it no matter what. It's pretty amazing.
This shootout was all shot on the last day of shooting for this episode, so it was a Friday night, and I think we started at, 1 in the afternoon and wrapped at 7:30 in the morning, and poor Josh Holloway. We didn't get to his side of the scene until about 5:30 in the morning, so all of his acting in the scene is between 5:30 and 7:30 in the morning, which if you've ever stayed up all night is not easy.
It's not fun. Yeah, there's something that happens and it's like it gets weird and muted and the sound gets weird and your body is barely, that was the same when we were conspiracy theory too. It was like, whew.
But can you use it like in a story like this?
Yeah, well, I think, it does work, especially for the end of the day. I think it helps.
Oh, and those stupid flaming barrels were a big pain in the butt because we're shooting on a set that has a roof, and those things release toxic crap into the air, and we're all choking and dying, and then between takes turning them off and trying to open up the roof as much as we can.
Yeah, you may find that this entire cast and crew is dead within 10 years.
That's exactly right. I think we have all gotten a lot of
and
lung cancer. Yeah. Well, there'll be lawsuits. I'm kidding. Sony, I'm kidding.
Don't cut that.
No, but they look great. You see them in the shots and it's beautiful, but you're like, God damn, it's a big pain in the ass.
We made some really radical choices in this episode in terms of, I really wanted to distinguish it and differentiate it from the first paintball in terms of the gels that we're using on the lights. So you'll notice, like in the first scene of the episode with Allison, it's that very saturated orange light. And we had two looks that we wanted. We were going to go with really saturated orange for daytime and really saturated blue for nighttime. So these windows have the saturated blue gels on them, which I'm reading in their faces right now. But it's more of, and that's why Dan sometimes says John Carpenter when he refers to this, because it's
very stylized in a very
like
cool
De Palma
way.
stylization.
Yeah.
Letting me have a stick of gum. He's old though. Could be real.
The gurgling's a nice touch.
You guys are terrible people.
This is sort of back at what we were talking about with Allison, but another thing, and everyone is so great on the show, performers, but Allison, and I think even I'd say Danny, so malleable, or what was asked of them, especially Danny taking on from the style. He can take any style on, and watching Danny would actually watch even when we did the Die Hard of the first season, watch the tapes or DVDs or whatever, Blu-ray,
Right.
whatever technology he has, and just study up on it. And I think the same thing with Allison. It was like, that's the person when I'm screaming and hemming and hawing, I look at her performing, I'm like, oof, I need an acting class.
Right. I mean, we could not do this show without this cast, the flexibility that everybody has, and we're always changing genres and stuff, and every
and their
time they knock it out of the
commitment
park.
and willingness to go for it at 8 in the morning after a long day, and still wanting to bring something because they love the show as much as
A
anyone.
lot
time
is
was
asked
this?
of you guys on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah.
This
What
is
time was
about
this
2 in the
shot?
morning.
I think it's always fun. We can just do a timeline of when things were.
We were running dual units. This is the very last day we're shooting, so the 11th day on a Saturday. People have been working for 2 weeks straight, 18-hour days. Most people going to bed at 5, 6 in the morning, sleeping for maybe 3 hours. And this was shot at the end there. The day that we shot this was the very end of a day that Yvette and I actually had to sleep in the cast trailers because we finished at 4 in the morning and we had to be back on set at 6.
Wow.
So we just went to bed and each got an hour and a half. And then I had to shoot her first up. We came back to set, and then we did another 22-hour day and finished with that stuff at like 3 in the morning that you just saw.
I love this tag because it was it gave you a little chills.
Yeah.
Because even when we read the table read, and it ended with, just sort of that last thing with Jordan coming out of the truck. You're just like, oh, man.
And
It's coming.
Yeah, originally they were going to air these back to back, but we ended up putting this together because it was a week apart.
And that's Community.